choose, but you're going to use it. If you've got blankets, you might pile them up or at least roll them over. I am lucky enough to have a bolster, so that's what I'm going to use. But you're going to lay on your back, your knees bent, feet on the floor, and then slide the blanket or bolster underneath your butt. Rest your arms at your sides. And at first you might, especially if you have a bolster, if it's like pretty high, then you might keep your knees bent, feet on the floor for a bit. But if you're laying like more flat on blankets, then you can decide maybe to straighten out your legs. Eventually we're gonna get to like a straight leg position here, but the higher up your hips are, the more intense that'll be to do right away. And then once you're laying there, just start to close your eyes if you feel ready for that, and shift into some more conscious breathing, just being aware of your breath. Really start to inhabit yourself. Start to really come into the feelings and sensations that are happening right now with you. Now that you've been here for a bit, you might try the variation with straightening your legs out. Feel free to take your feet apart when your legs are straight, and this will make it a little bit less intense. The closer together your legs are, the more of a back bend. So you can try kind of play with that. But if legs straight is just too much for your lower back, again, bend your knees, place your feet on the floor, and just do it that way. Really starting to deepen your breath now. Lengthening your inhale and exhale through your nose. Can't really tell right now, but today's class is going to be more vinyasa style. We'll do a lot of like vinyasa transition type things. We'll play with some poses. So a lot more movement than, let's say, like last time when we did most of our class on the floor. So take care of yourself, basically, you know, now that you know that, you know probably at this point how you're feeling, the energy that you have to give, the energy that you might need to take away from today's class. So you can honor that as we move. You can go slower or take breaks at any time. Keep breathing nice and slow here. Begin to bend your knees if your legs are straight. Bring your knees towards your chest. And then with your feet off the floor, you can kind of rock back and forth on your blankets or your bolster and settle your hips so that you feel nice and balanced. And then from here, lift your feet and just start to point and flex your ankles. And you might turn those into sort of circular motions, just getting that whole range of motion in your ankle joints. And notice how as you point and flex your ankles, it translates into movement of your feet. You can feel the bottom of your feet as your ankles twirl. Twirl them in the opposite direction. And you might add a little toe movement in too if you want. You can try spreading and your toes and bringing them close together. Okay, bring your feet to the floor. With your arms at your sides, palms on the ground, push down firmly into your feet. Tuck your tailbone up from the back of your knees and lift your butt. Slide the blanket or the bolster, whatever you have, out from underneath you. Lay your back on the floor. Bring your right knee towards your chest. Interlace your fingers around your right shin. Pull your right shin into you. Take a deep inhale. And then exhale, straighten your left leg onto the floor. Pull your left toes back towards your shin. Pull your right toes back towards your shins and stretch your legs apart. Continue to breathe slowly, deeply. Now, take a deep inhale. And as you exhale, lift your head and chest, bringing your nose towards your knee. Now lift your left heel just barely off the floor. Keep breathing. And let your head and chest come back down. Keep your heel above the ground. And start to sway your leg in and out. Just kind of swooshing it from side to side. Take another deep, long, slow breath when you're ready. And now bending your left knee. Pull that leg in tight. Wrap your fingers around your shin. Bring your right foot to the floor for a moment here. Just take a deep inhale. And then as you exhale, straighten your right leg. Bringing your leg to the floor. Pull your toes back towards your shins on both legs. Just hold here, stretching your legs apart. Take a deep inhale. And then exhale, lift your head and chest, bringing your nose towards your knee. Keep breathing. Lift your right heel just above the floor. And then bring your head and chest down and swing your leg in and out. Really feel and notice what's going on in your hip as you breathe deeply through your nose. Just let that hip move as it will. Okay, bend your right knee, bring your knee towards your chest. Happy baby pose, take your knees out wide. Hold on to your ankles or the pinky side edges of your feet and squeeze. If you've got your feet, give yourself a little foot rub. As you rock from side to side, just multitask. Could even take your hands to the inside of your feet and massage the inside of your feet, your inner ankles. Just give those old dogs some love. Okay, let's go back to the bridge prep position. So with your knees bent, feet on the floor, heels directly behind either your sitting bones or your outer hips. Outer hips gives you a little bit more room to go into extension. Hands at the sides of your waist, palms on the floor. Start to do a couple pelvic tilts. So tuck your tailbone up toward the back of your knees. Really feel your whole butt engage. Maybe even you'll feel your inner thighs. Pelvic floor engages. Now keep breathing, tuck your tailbone toward the floor so that your low back lifts. It's like the top of your butt and your sacrum lifts away from the ground. And now tuck your tailbone again. And you'll feel the bottom of your butt engage and your butt might lift a little bit away from the floor. And now do the opposite once again, tucking your tailbone toward the ground, coming into a back bend in your lower back, also known as extension. Tuck your tailbone toward the back of your knees and go ahead and follow that by lifting your hips all the way up. Let's come into bridge pose. Interlace your hands underneath your back and then roll your upper arms underneath your back. Press your pinkies toward the ground. Lift your chin away from your chest. Come up onto the ball of your feet for a moment, lifting your heels high. See if you can lift your pelvis higher now that your heels are lifted. Try to keep your pelvis that high. Drop your heels to the floor. Press firmly into the big toe side of your feet. Lift your chin again. Nice strong breaths. Another long, slow inhale and exhale through your nose. Take your hands apart. Bring your back to the floor. Lift your feet up toward the ceiling. Cross your right ankle in front of your left. Walk your hands up the back of your legs until you start to feel a stretch in your hamstrings. And then stay there breathing. If you have the urge to rock from side to side, go ahead and do that. And just stay with your deep breaths. One more inhale, one more exhale. Okay. Uncross your legs slowly. Take your legs apart, all the way apart as far as they'll go without straining. And then put your hands on your inner thighs below your inner knees and push slightly, and then push right back with your hands. You'll feel your inner thighs engage. You might even feel like a layer of the pelvic floor engaging. Take a breath. And then bring your legs together again. This time left leg crosses on top of right. Walk your hands up the back of your legs. And we're not trying to come into a shoulder stand or anything like that. We're just feeling for that stretch in our hamstrings. If you feel like rocking from side to side, you can do that. Okay. And now walking your hands back down. Go ahead, let's do that one more time. Take your legs wide apart. You can point or flex your ankles, whatever feels good. And now let's get our inner thighs to engage more. Take your hands to your inner thighs and push down, and then push into your hands with your inner thighs and breathe. You don't have to do this like all crazy. That shouldn't hurt. We're just waking up our pelvic floor a little bit more. One last breath. Okay, bring your legs together. Cross your right leg in front of your left. So we're going to use our legs to help us get up. We're going to use momentum. So you're going to bring your legs overhead, swing forward. Bring your feet to the floor. Bring your hands to the ground. Hop or step back into plank. And then push back to downward facing dog. Take a deep inhale here. Exhale, hop forward with your legs crossed, or cross them when they get there. You're gonna drop your butt down, pass through boat pose. You can do knees bent or straight legs or even hands on the floor. Come all the way down onto your back and rest. Take a breath. Okay, draw your low ribs in. Bend your knees, lift your legs, feet toward the ceiling, cross your left ankle in front of your right, and once again do the swing. Come all the way forward with your legs crossed, hands touch the floor, hop or step back, plank, inhale. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, hop or step forward, cross legs, sit down, boat, inhale. Exhale, lower to the ground, and rest. Take a breath. Okay, so that's our little mini sequence here, our first sequence. Swing your legs overhead, come through, plank, down dog, hop forward, legs cross. Makes it a little easier to transition to your butt, to boat, lay down. Good, and rest. So whatever breath that you're doing, just do that. I'm not going to tell you which breath to be on. So when you're ready, cross legs, swing over, swing forward, plant your hands so you can hop or step back, plank, downward facing dog. Take a breath here. Just get your bearings, then hop forward, cross legs, sit down, boat, and lay all the way down, rest. Cross your leg, left leg on top, big swing, hop back, plank or step, down dog, hop forward, cross, sit back through boat, lay down. Last time, legs come up, legs cross, swing forward, plant your hands, hop or step back, plank, dog, hop forward, hop through to boat, lay down. Woo! Okay, shake out your legs a little bit there. Get the wiggles out. Awesome. So we're going to use that sequence so that we can stand all the way up. Okay, so big swing of your legs, come up to standing. So happy everybody signed up for today's silly class. Okay, so standing at the top of your mat, we're actually going to go back to the floor for a second, but if you know you have sensitive knees or if your floor is really hard, you can grab a blanket to put underneath your knees or just have it ready in case your knees do get sore. All right? Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, step back to plank. Take a deep inhale and plank. Exhale, bring your knees to the floor underneath your hips. Okay. Do a little wrist stretch before we begin. Turn your fingers toward the outside to the inside so that they're facing your knees. You might only be able to do one hand at a time here if your wrists are very sensitive. If you're doing one hand at a time, just change here in a breath or two, but you can lean back here and get more of a stretch in your wrists, or vice versa. If it's too much, you can lean forward, get less of a stretch. And take another deep inhale and exhale. Tuck your toes underneath your feet, turn your fingers forward. Sit back on your heels and do some wrist circles here. Close your eyes. So if you have an intention for today's class, now that we're going to start moving, then you can start to bring that in now. Lay the back of your hands on your thighs for a moment. Just settling on your intention now. My intention for today's class was just to do sort of a happy, lighthearted thing for us. With all the heaviness that's going on, it could be nice to take a moment and do something that feels good, that's a little bit silly, and that brings us back to our joy. Downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your right leg up. Exhale, step your right foot toward the outside of your right hand. Inhale, drop your hips down, lift your heart up, look up. And then exhale, step back to dog. Inhale, lift your left leg up. Exhale, step to the outside of your left hand, drop your hips. Inhale, lift your heart, look up. Let's do that a couple more times. Exhale, dog. Inhale, right leg up. Exhale, step to your outer right hand. Inhale, look up. Exhale, dog. Inhale, left leg up. Exhale, step forward to the outside of your left hand. Let your hips drop. Inhale, lift your heart, look up. Exhale, dog. One more time each side. Inhale, right leg. Exhale, step. Inhale, back bend. Exhale, dog. Inhale, left leg. Exhale, step. Inhale, heart lifts. Exhale, dog. Good. Take a deep breath. Inhale, come forward to plank. Exhale, bring your knees down underneath your hips. Bird dog. Press down firmly into your hands. So just for a second, take your hands wider than shoulder distance apart. Spread your fingers out wide. The creases of your wrists should be parallel with the top of your mat. Now draw your low ribs in. It's almost like you got somebody sitting on your back. You want to sort of like push up into them a little bit. Now that you have that, reach your left arm forward. Good. And then straighten your right leg back, but keep your toes on the floor for a second. When we lift our leg, almost everybody turns their foot out. I want you to lift your leg with your toes exactly like they are right now. So you're just going to lift straight up. And then stretch further without turning your toes out. So you could even take a little peek and make sure that even that pinky toe is facing the floor, unless you've got kind of a funky pinky toe. And then maybe it's facing another direction. Okay, reach your left arm over to the right, reach your right leg over to the left. And then come back to center. You're gonna do that 3 more times. Reach. Good. These are contralateral movements, which is a really fun way to say opposite arm, opposite leg. Last time. Awesome. Bring your left hand down, right knee down. Stretch your right arm forward. Right palm turns in. Stretch your left leg back. First start in almost like a half plank with your toes on the floor. This will give you that good feedback of how your leg should stay as you lift it straight up. Now stretch further, draw your low ribs in, maybe even look forward. Just gonna hold here for a moment. Just trying to set up where our center is. We'll do more complex movements while moving. So bring your right hand in, left foot over to the right. So right hand comes to the left, and then come back to center. So right hand crosses the midline, goes to the left, left foot crosses the midline, goes to the right. Good. One more, actually 2 more of those. Keep pushing down firmly into the hand and knee that are supporting you. Good. Last one. Awesome. Bring your right hand down, left knee down. Okay, a little shoulder stretch here. Walk your knees back. Line your hips up over your knees, but drop your elbows to the floor. Walk your elbows forward, forehead to the ground if it will make it. And now lift your hands up over the back of your head. Stretch your triceps, stretch your shoulders. Breathe. Another deep breath here. Bring your hands down. Come back to quadruped position, which is the hands and knees position. Tuck your toes underneath your feet. Draw your low ribs in. Push all the way back to downward facing dog. Good. Take a deep breath. Come up onto your tippy toes and downward facing dog. Now, automatically you feel how much more weight pours into your hands. Push down and forward with your hands, press into your fingertips. Walk forward until your shoulders are over your wrists. Keep your head between your upper arms. Walk forward until you can't walk it forward anymore. Keep your head between your arms, shoulders over your wrists. Keep your heels up. Bend your knees, so feet need to be at least as wide as your hips. Bend your knees and come down into kind of like a chair squat. Lift your head. Now lift your arms. Come as high up with your arms as you can. Keep your heels up if you can. Push down into your feet. You're going to pass through chair all the way up to standing. Good. And then pass all the way down through chair with your heels still lifted. Bring your hands to the floor. Shift your weight forward into your hands. Hands a little wider than shoulder distance. Weight to hands. Press down into your hands. Walk your feet back. Shoulders stay over wrists. You go to a plank. Good. Now push down and forward with your hands so you're in dog. Heels are still lifted. Walk your hands back to your feet. Really push the floor away. Keep your heels lifted if you can. They might come down for a sec. Squat back down, butt comes down. Tiptoe squat, reach your arms up. At any time, if you need to put hands on hips, you can. Push off the ball of your feet, pass through chair. Come all the way up. Oh. Breathe, keep breathing. Sit down, back through chair. Nice and slow movements. We're not in a hurry at all. We're going to walk forward from here into plank pose again. So you stay low. Once your shoulders come over your wrists, you're going to try to keep shoulders over your wrists. Walk your feet forward. This will be harder than the down dog way. Keep shoulders over wrists as you walk your feet forward, tippy toes. One more time, sit down into that squat with your heels lifted, tippy toe squat. If you can, you're gonna reach your arms up. If not, hands on hips. Push off the ball of your feet to stand. Good, bring your heels down, bring your arms down. Stand in Utkatasana, mountain pose for a moment, just looking straight ahead, breathing. Place your hands on your hips. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, chair pose. Okay, chair pose makes us lean forward a lot, which is okay. But I want you to try to lift your pubic bone up, stay low in chair. So pubic bone lifts up, see if maybe then you can bring your shoulders higher up without going into a really big back bend in your upper back. So draw your low ribs in. Woo, shins. If your shins are on fire like mine are, they're probably working a little too hard. You can try shifting your weight in your feet a little bit. Take another breath. Shift your weight to the right, left. Step your right foot back. So you're in high lunge. We'll do this without the arms at first, just take that out of the equation. Bring your pubic bone up, shoulders come over your wrists. Straighten your back leg more. Take a deep inhale. Slowly, as you exhale, bring your right knee to the ground. This is where we're going to start to get kind of knee-y, so you might have a blanket there. Okay. Left foot steps back so that you're now kneeling. Right foot steps forward. You have to lean your weight forward here. Lean so that you can push off your right foot and step forward. Back to chair. Good. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, step your left foot back, high lunge. Settle into high lunge for a second here. If you're pretty good at these lunge poses, take your feet further apart. If they're really hard for you, take your feet closer together. Slowly lower your left knee to the floor. Bring your right foot back. Step your left foot forward. Good, lean forward slightly, push off of that left foot to step forward, back to chair. Good, and then stand up. So we're gonna do that again. If you want, you can keep your hands on your hips, or you can do arms overhead, or sort of in the middle of that would be hands at your heart. Yeah, leggy leg day. Choose an arm variation. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, step your right foot back. Inhale, high lunge. Exhale, slowly lower to kneeling lunge. Inhale, step your left foot back. Exhale, step your right foot forward. Inhale, lean forward, step forward, chair. Exhale, Tadasana, stand all the way up. Inhale, chair. Exhale, left foot steps back. Inhale, high lunge. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale, leg back. Exhale, left foot forward. Inhale, lean forward. Exhale, big step up to chair. Inhale, chair. Exhale, Tadasana. Okay, I thought we would run through that more, but I'm afraid we're gonna get too tired. So I'm gonna add on now. Hands at your hips for this. Take a deep inhale. Exhale through your mouth. Okay. Let's try this a little bit modified at first, and then if you feel up to it, I'll show you guys when we do it the second time, kind of like we did with the arm things. But chair pose. Inhale, lift your right knee up in front of you. Exhale, lean your chest forward as you take your right leg straight back. Remember the feeling of the toes facing the floor. Good, take a deep inhale here, warrior three. Exhale, high lunge. Inhale, high lunge, arms raised. Exhale, slowly lower. If you need to touch your hips to come down, you can. Good, and then start to bring your hips back, straightening your left leg, and we'll forget the breath for a second here. Hands at your hips, but keep breathing. Inhale. Exhale, slow fold. You could put your hands on the floor for this. Good, stay there, take a breath. One more breath. Okay, inhale, lift your head. Exhale, low lunge. You're gonna come back to that knee bent. We're gonna change legs. So come out of the low, super low lunge. Step your left foot back. Step your right foot forward. All right, lean forward like we practiced, back toes tucked under. You're gonna pass through that high lunge to get to warrior three. Good, and then now left knee comes into your chest. Stand all the way up, and then bring your foot down. Take a deep inhale, exhale through your mouth. Inhale, chair. Exhale, chair. Inhale, left knee comes up. Exhale, lean your chest forward as you straighten your left leg back. Taking your sweet ass time. Good, take a breath there. Remember, toes facing the floor. Right hip is engaged. Bend your right knee slowly. Bring your left foot to the floor. When you're ready, inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, slowly lower your knee to the floor. Inhale here. Exhale, bring your hips back. Lift your right toes. Hands can be on your hips or up or touch the ground. Good, come all the way to the fold. As you're ready, keep breathing. One more breath. Good, slowly coming forward. Bring your right foot back to the floor. Lift your chest. Step your right foot back. Step your left foot forward. Tuck your back toes under if they're not already. Start to come up. Lean your chest forward so you can lift that right leg high. Good, just for a second, and then coming forward again. You might bend your knee, or do bend your knee at least this round as you come forward. Nice bit of practice. Lift it up, and then bring your foot to the floor. Okay, so the difference being this time you could try straight leg up, rotate back, and actually it would be straight leg up, squat, rotate back. You're in the high lunge, come down, do a little business. Or the same way that we just did, bent knee, you squat, rotate, step back. Okay? So starting at the top of your mat, breathe, shake it out. Lots of like really focused hip work here, but if you can't tell, quad work. Start with your feet hip distance apart. Take a deep inhale, either lift your right knee or your right leg straight up. As you exhale, either step straight back into high lunge or take your leg out to the side, turn your toes down, step back, high lunge. When you're ready, inhale, reach up. Exhale, drop down. Inhale, hands to your heart or the floor, your hips. Exhale for the hamstring stretch. Lean forward. We're not staying there this time. Inhale, rise back up, lift your chest. Exhale, switch legs. Good. Inhale, tuck your toes, lift your back knee. Exhale, warrior three, lean forward, lift off. Take a deep inhale here. So exhale, either your leg comes out to the side and forward if you're doing straight leg, or it's that bent knee variation again. Yep, and then bring your foot down. Okay. Again, take a deep inhale, exhale through your mouth. Inhale, lift your left leg or left knee. Exhale. sit down sort of through chair pose, pistol squat. Rotate your leg behind you or step. When you're ready, inhale, high lunge. Exhale, lower to the ground. Inhale, hands to hips or the floor. Exhale, hamstring stretch. Inhale, low lunge. Exhale, switch legs. Good. Inhale, lift your back knee. Lean forward. Exhale, push off for warrior three. Good. Inhale, warrior three. Exhale, either bring your right knee to your chest and stand, or take your right leg out to the side and keep it lifted. And then bring your foot down. Yeah. Okay, let's do forward bend here. Take your feet out. Let's do as wide as our mats. Turn your toes out. Inhale, reach up, look up. Exhale, bend your knees a little bit. Reach out to the side as you fold. Good, and then let your head hang. Kind of wiggle yourself from side to side here. And take another breath. Good, bend your knees so much that you can bring your hands to the floor and start to squat down. You might have to lift your heels or turn your heels in more. Good, push your elbows and knees into each other. Hands at your heart and breathe here for a moment. Let's try a different squat. So we've done a lot of chair pose, obviously squats. Now we're doing our regular squat or malasana, what we think of really as a squat. Bring your fingertips to the floor. Lift your butt, drop your head, turn your toes forward for a moment. Good, inhale, lift halfway up, draw your low belly in, chest lifts, look forward. Exhale, push off your heels to slowly stand. Bring your feet together. So this variation, feet stay together, knees are gonna go out wide, and for some of you, you're gonna have to lift your heels up really high. So start to bend your knees, kind of like we were practicing before. Your heels lift as you bend, take your knees out to the side. Balancing pose, you could have hands on the floor. Awesome. We're gonna stay here, this is a major foot pose. My feet hurt all the time for whatever reason, and this is a really good strengthening pose. Okay, let's try this. Take your hands, make fists, push them on the outside of your knees, and then push out. All right. Now you're gonna keep that engagement, but take your hands to the inside of your knees and do the same thing, push in. So now you feel how strongly your hips are engaged in the front and the back. Try to keep that. See if you can bring your hands to your heart. Good, take another breath. Bring your fingertips to the floor behind you so that you can rotate onto your butt. If you want, grab a blanket, sit on a blanket. Hold your toes here. Press your outer thighs toward the ground. Grow your knees further out to the side. See if that helps bring your legs closer to the floor. You might walk your sitting bones a little closer to your heels. That might make it actually knees higher, but that's okay. Inhale here, lift your chest, look up. And then exhale, pull yourself forward over your legs. It works so flippin' hard for you today, so far. Take another breath. Next time you inhale, lift your head. And then exhale, sit all the way up. Okay, so we're gonna come back, revisit that squat with your feet together. Squat with your feet together makes it much easier to do crow pose. But also, crow pose is much easier to do if you have blocks. If you have blocks, I'm just going to show you this really quick. You can step on your blocks, so you bring your blocks together like a little stage, kind of. You're going to step on the blocks, bend your knees, take your knees out to the side, feet are together, hands to the floor, knees to the back of your arm, and then you shift your weight forward, squeeze your elbows in, crow pose. You could try this with your feet on your bolster or the blocks or blankets. Otherwise, feet together, heels up, knees wide, arms hook to your knees, hands on the floor as wide as your shoulders. You're gonna pick your butt up, squeeze your elbows in, and lean your weight forward into your fingertips. Press down with your fingertips when you feel your toes get light. That's when you pick up your heels. So if you get to crow and you're like, man, I'm so good at crow. If you want to be bad at crow, try taking a leg off and sending it back. Get bad at crow again so that you can get super strong. It could just be that the leg comes off and that's where you're at. You have to squeeze your knees in, shift that weight forward, lean slightly, push the opposite knee down of the leg that you take off, and then maybe you don't fall on your face. Maybe you do fall on your face. That's sort of part of it. Do you guys have the blocks to try it with the blocks? Doesn't look like it. Or a bolt, yeah? Okay. Anything that gets your feet higher. You can even do crow off of a chair, which is kind of freaky because it's so high up. Yeah, and once you are balancing, you push your knees down and squeeze your knees towards each other. If you got it in you, try for another 30 seconds here. If you get crow, like I said, you can keep your feet together, squeeze your heels up. And you might be able to shift your weight, push the opposite knee down, take the opposite leg off. That might be just like all you get to. Straightening your leg is a whole other can of worms, but we did such good work today in all those lunges. Okay, let's give our wrists a little break here and our hip flexors. You're gonna lay on your back, which I know is kind of abrupt after all that, but this will feel good. Lay on your back, feet on the floor, lift your butt, and then take your wrists underneath your butt. Lay your pelvis down on your wrists, lift your feet, and then sort of roll from side to side here. And just squish your own wrists. Crow pose is some crazy core work there. Okay, come off of your wrists. Take your hands up toward the ceiling like you're going to push the ceiling up. Flex your fingers toward your forearms. Knees are still bent, big toes touching. Now take your knees out wide, almost like happy baby pose, but curl your tailbone up toward the ceiling so your knees come toward the back of your arms. Now we can all do crow. Push your knees into the back of your arms and start to bend your elbows like you would in crow pose. And really push elbows to knees, knees to elbows. We're gonna just really get our hip flexors here. Try to engage the front of your belly more by squeezing your low ribs in. Take another breath. Now we can do one leg crow. Keep your left leg knee like it is. Straighten your right leg. It's still really hard. Take a breath. And then slowly come back to the crow, toes touching, knee at the back of your arms, get your form, and then straighten your left leg. Like you would in one-legged crow, bakasana. Good, another breath. And then bring that left knee back. Crow, take a breath. Good, and then arms at your sides, legs out wide. Rock your, or turn your feet in and out really quickly. Little extra core work there for you. You're welcome. I didn't even know that was coming to that extent. little surprise. Bend your knees out wide. Take the bottom of your feet together for Utkatasana, reclined, bound ankle pose. Good, and then just start to lift. So you're kind of like squeezing your left hip up towards your left lower back, like rib cage. You're just tilting that side of your pelvis up, and then let that side come down and do the opposite side. Tilt your right hip up towards your right low ribs, and then you're just gonna go back and forth. Good, let's help ourselves do that even more. Bend your knee, or keep your knees bent, lift your knees, lift your legs, put your hands on your knees. And you're just gonna draw sort of like circles with your knees. Breathe as you do it. Okay. Let's do a little bit more for our hip flexors now. Take your feet wider than your hips, with your toes facing straight ahead. Lift your hips, so tuck your tailbone, lift your hips up like bridge. Good, interlace your fingers underneath you, roll your upper arms underneath your back. So it's bridge, but with way wider feet, which gives you much more chance to stretch the front of your hips. Good, last breath. Unwind your hands, bring your back to the floor, hips to the floor. Take your feet closer together. Cross your right knee over your left. Move your hips to the right, but drop your knees to the left. If you can, you're going to try to keep your right shoulder blade on the ground as much as it will stay there, and let your hips twist away from your right rib cage. You can accentuate it. You might not need to if this is a lot for you. Don't try to accentuate it. But if you feel like you could go further into the twist, turn the left side of your belly more to the right. And breathe. You can set your left hand on the outside of your right knee if that's a comfortable place, or arms out to the side, really wherever it feels good. One more breath. Let's do one more breath. Don't need to be in a rush. To come out of this, unwind your top leg from your bottom leg, and then roll onto your back slowly, bringing your feet to the floor. Now, lay flat on your back for a moment with your legs stretched out. Close your eyes. Okay, getting ready for that twist. Second side, bend your knees. Feet on the floor, feet together. Cross your left leg over your right. Move your hips to the left. Drop your knees to the right. we just move our hips off to the side so that when your knees go over to the side, your hips and your head are basically in the same line. And you can try to scoot that right shoulder out from under you a little bit more. Turn your belly toward the left. All these little tiny micro adjustments can make a big difference in the pose. Once you feel like you are in the position that you want to be in, try to be restful in the position, relax, and let the shape work its magic on you. If you feel like your breath starts to leave you, just come back to it. Last deep inhale and exhale in the twist. Unwind your legs. Lay on your back. Nice and slow movements to get yourself there. Just lay flat for a moment here. Absorb. So to end class today, I want to spend a little bit more time in that starting position. When you're ready, you're going to roll to one side so that you can find your props. And either using that bolster, if you had a bolster, blankets, or blocks, whatever it is, to elevate your hips. And then you can either do knees bent, feet on the floor, or straight legs. Straight legs is going to be a much deeper pose. So be careful with yourself. Once you are in the position, the closer together you have your legs, the more intense the back bend is. So you could try it with your legs further apart. If it's too intense, you could try it with like less height underneath your hips. Or like I said, knees bent, feet on the floor. So you're going to spend about 2 more minutes here. You can lose your deep breathing, let it start to fade away. You don't have to force it to be gone. You don't have to force your eyes closed or open. Feel your body as it relaxes or tenses back up or whatever happens. Just be really interested in the process. And even though you're not trying to deep breathe anymore, it's always helpful to keep bringing your awareness back to your breath.
flat on your back. It can feel really good after that passive back bend, just to be not back bending for a moment. So you could take your bolster or anything that's out from, or that's under you, out from under you. Just lay down for a moment here. Starting to bring yourself back now. Doing whatever movements or stretches that might be left. And taking your time the next few breaths to come up to a comfortable seated position. Once you're there, just revisiting your intention for today, the ways in which you move towards that. And we just trust that those intentions they're met. Sit up nice and tall. Relax the creases of your hips, relax your brow. You can leave your hands where they are or bring them together in front of your heart. In honor of each other in this practice we call yoga, in honor of the teachers that brought yoga to us, in honor of the native people whose land we practice on, let's have one final Om. Take a deep inhale. Om. Go ahead and bow to yourself, bow to your heart. I bow to you now and always.